came a moment when it was no longer enough to keep it all inside. I'd been carrying this thing, this energy, this awareness for weeks, maybe months. Sitting with it, listening to it, feeling it move through my body like electricity that didn't want to leave. I thought maybe it would burn out, that it would fade, but it didn't. It only grew louder, more precise, more direct. I was standing in the garage that day, my little quiet space, where most people just saw tools or coffee mugs or half-smoked cigarette burning in the ashtray. But for me, that space had become something else, a kind of sacred ground, like a church with no steeple, a cave with a single light bulb humming above me. That's where I heard it, the voice, the one that had been with me since all of this began. It said, "It's time. Start with the names." I didn't question it. I grabbed whatever scraps of paper I could find, old receipts, torn notebook pages, stickies that had lost all their shtick. I started writing, one name per page. These weren't just people. They were echoes, teachers, fragments of a former life I was ready to face. Some were old friends. Some were people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some had hurt me. Some I had hurt. And some were people I just needed to finally tell the truth to, because I was changing. And they deserved to know who I was now. I laid the papers out like a map across the garage floor, and then just stood there, staring. The space was so quiet now, too quiet maybe, almost sacred in its silence. Not long ago, this place had been anything but quiet. That garage used to pulse with nonsense talk, cheap beer, deep drags, and just enough country music to make you think you were relaxing, even while your nervous system was chewing itself alive. It was where we smoked through winter, with the propane heater screaming in the corner, so loud you had to raise your voice just to be heard. That heater was like a second heartbeat in the room. It kept us warm, but it was also covered all the sound of things we were too afraid to say. There were no real conversations in the garage, just fog, joke, shoulder punches, venting about work, surface level complaints. But underneath it all, there were ghosts. I can feel them now, the shadows of what wasn't spoken. The stuff none of us had the guts or vocabulary to name at the time. The fear, the resentment, the ache of being tired but too proud to admit it. The way we all kept reaching for vices just to keep from facing ourselves. Now, it's just me in here. Me and these names. Me and this damn bar stool. And a half-filled ashtray sitting on top of this chest freezer like it's been there forever. This garage doesn't echo like it used to. Now it just listens. It's outside of time and space now, like a cave between two worlds. And I think that's why I could finally hear the voice clearly in there, because all the noise had finally stopped. One name kept pulsing louder than the others. He was someone I respected, not just for what he did at work, but because I sense he had a core, even if he didn't always let it show. I remember thinking, he can hold this. He'll get it. And right then, the phone rang. It was him. I just kind of froze. I told him, "You're not going to believe this. I was just thinking about you, writing your name down." He laughed, confused but open. I said, "Do you mind if I stop by? I need to talk. Like, really talk." And he said, "You're gonna leave work? You never leave work." I said, "Yeah, I know, but I need to, just this once." I drove straight to his place. He lived up high, a penthouse unit with this wide open view of the city lights. When I walked in, the air felt different, like I was waiting for us to speak something true into it. We sat down by the window. I told him everything about what I'd been feeling, the insights, the shift, the voice, the papers in the garage, the way reality was rearranging itself right in front of me. And then I told him about the 5 whys. I'd always hated that tool at work. Another corporate trick to make you feel like you were solving something when really, you were just putting band-aids on a system that was bleeding out. But that day, something clicked. I didn't ask why the parts were failing. I asked why the whole place was failing. Why nothing made sense. Why people were so numb, so defensive, so disconnected. And the answers came fast. They don't understand. They don't know how. They don't care. At first, I thought it was about the workers on the floor, because that's what we're always being told. But then I paused, and I realized that it wasn't the people on the floor. It was our senior leadership. It was being projected downward, like a curse being spoken over good people who were just trying to survive a broken system. I told him that, and he just sat there for a moment, then nodded. It said something that stuck with me. Yeah, I'm a part of it too. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't making excuses. He was finally being just honest. And in that moment, I knew I could trust him. He pointed to the view outside his window and said, "That's where I put all my puzzle pieces together. When I need to figure out what tools to run and how to schedule presses so we remain on time with our schedule. Sometimes it feels impossible, but eventually the pieces come together and I get the picture." And I remember thinking, me too, except now the puzzle pieces weren't just about the machines. It was about souls. And my picture was finally starting to come together. In the days that followed, I kept going down the list. Not out of pressure, but out of something deeper. A pull. Like a thread had been tied between me and each of these people, and I needed to walk it all the way to their door, spiritually or physically, and just say what needed to be said. One of those people was someone I'd been connected to a long time ago. We shared a life once, shared a significant person together for years. There was distance, some hurt, the kind of scars that quietly harden over time. I didn't call to dig it all up. I called just to say thank you. Thank you for getting to a place where we could finally live with grace, even if it wasn't perfect. Thank you for allowing peace to take the wheel, even after all the rough roads. And I said something I didn't plan. You're forgiven for everything. And I know I had my part in it too. I meant it. Fully. No weight left on either side. There was no reaction needed. No confirmation. Just release. A weight lifted. A thread untied. Not long after that, I called my mom. It wasn't about sorting out the past with her. It was about trying to share what was happening to me. Not the mechanics of it, but the magnitude. I said, Mom, I don't know how to say this exactly, but I believe in something now. I don't even know what to call it. God? Spirit? Something's happening to me. Something beautiful. And I just want to tell you about it. I want you to see it in me. I want you to come down here. I want to be able to tell you, not through the phone, but in person. She was kind, but unsure. She said she couldn't make it down right away because she had meetings and appointments to get to for that week. But maybe next week. I said, okay, and hung up the phone. She never made it down. Everything started moving faster after that. Like a storm had been circling the edges of my life, and I had just spoken my last peaceful words before the winds of change. But I don't regret a thing, because even if they didn't all understand, I was showing up. I was telling the truth now. I was emptying the bottle before it shattered. And sometimes, that's all we're here to do.